Now I'm here with
Riley.
My name's Issa.
So I'm Raja.
Will.
Utica Agarwal.
Heather Norland.
Aisha, hello.
What is your major and what's your year?
My major is biology on the pre-optometry track, and I'm currently a sophomore.
And I'm a comp sci major and statistics and data science minor.
I'm a junior and I'm a journalism major at UNC and a political science double major.
I am a senior and I'm majoring in advertising and public relations.
I'm a senior at UNC and I'm studying business and public policy.
Yeah, so I'm currently a sophomore here, and I'm an intended double major of computer science and business administration.
I am a sophomore and I am currently applying to the computer science department, and I'm also studying mathematics.
I forgot that you have to apply to that now.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's weird to hear. Did you apply in or out of state? And if out of state,
Out
where
of
are you
state.
from?
I applied out of state. I'm from New York. That's where I went to high school.
I'm in state and I'm actually from Chapel Hill.
So I am from Cary, North Carolina, so I'm
Why is there a
in-state.
helicopter?
I'm out of state. I am from Maryland.
I am from Dunn, North Carolina, so in-state.
I am in state. I'm from Chapel Hill.
I'm from beautiful Murphy, North Carolina. You know, some people call it just like West Asheville, about 2 hours west of Asheville, but
It's in a quarter.
beautiful Murphy, North Carolina.
Did you apply to UNC early action or regular?
I did early action, the October 15th deadline. Yeah.
So I applied to UNC through early action and
I did early action.
I was a regular decision.
I did early action.
I applied early.
Applied early action. I actually applied to all my schools early action, so it was really nice to know exactly where I'm going. And fun fact, I actually committed the day I got in. So.
Damn. If you remember, what was your high school GPA?
It was 3.95.
I don't remember, but I think it was like around a 3.7, like unweighted, but yeah.
yes, so my high school GPA was a 4.5, but it was a weird scale. Regular classes were worth 4, honors were 4.5, and I think AP were 5. So it was a very weird scale, but it was a 4.5.
My high school actually didn't have GPAs because we're
Really?
quirky and alternative. But I had pretty good grades, I guess. Yeah.
New York City high schools.
I don't entirely remember. So, all of you people applying to college, trust me, this does not matter as much as you think it does.
Yes.
But it was somewhere around 3.7, I believe.
Weighted, I think it was a 4.0, and then unweighted, it was a 4.74.
I had a 4.0 unweighted GPA. Yeah. And I took some AP, so the weighted was higher.
Whichever one you submitted, if any, what was your SAT or ACT?
I actually did not submit any. I took one. I took the SAT, and I did not like my score, so I didn't take it again because it wasn't required.
Fair enough.
I got a 450 on the SAT.
I never took the ACT, but I took the SAT, and I think my highest score was a 1530.
I did SAT because I can't do that graph reading, science shit, the ACT. And my composite was a 1560.
I just took the SAT and I got a 1590 on that. Yeah.
So I submitted my ACT score and it was a 28, up from a 25. I did tutoring because I suck at standardized tests.
In high school, what was the extracurricular you put the most time into or talked about the most in your application?
I talked the most about playing high school soccer. I was captain of my soccer team.
I spent about equal amounts of time on scouting and robotics, though I wrote more about robotics in my application. It was a big part of my high school career.
The one I wrote about the most was DECA. I was insanely involved in DECA. But I think the thing that I probably spent the most time on was dance.
Definitely, I was on, it's called The Highliner. It was our school newspaper and magazine. It was a lot of different events in the school and out of the school, and reporting, journalism got me more interested in journalism for sure.
I would say that I was most involved in FFA, which a lot of people don't know what it is, but it's the Future Farmers of America. I was really involved throughout all 4 years.
Into was FBLA. It was called FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. Yeah, we had meetings every week, and they had those competitions and things we can participate in. And then I went through state competitions and also made internationals. And yeah, it was a big part of my high school.
Actually, I think my application was more based around like projects I did in high school and like other experiences rather than like a specific extracurricular. So I feel like when we were in high school, doing an internship wasn't as common as it is like now, I assume. So I think one thing that really stood out in my application was doing an internship before my senior year of high school, and I did research at the University of Maryland. I think that was pretty unique and cool.
Overall, how did you feel about your Common App essays? You don't have to share exactly what you wrote about, but just like, did you spend a lot of time on them?
Yeah.
Like, how early did you start? What do you think?
I really enjoy writing, so I didn't mind the Common App essays too much. I kind of liked it. Personal statement was good. The word count was limiting for me because I like to write a lot, but I would recommend starting earlier because my topic like evolved a lot. I wrote about like something that happened to me junior year, and like as I wrote about it, like I sort of reflected on it differently, and I think it's good to give yourself time because it's not always going to go how you think it is.
I spent less time than people normally do. I procrastinated at the beginning, and then at the end I was stressed out a little bit trying to finish the Common App application.
I started probably a little bit before the school year started and put in a decent amount of work into the general app, though for me in particular I put in more effort into like the supplemental essays like for honors or the Moorhead Cane in particular. I didn't get either, but I put in more time there.
Now, I don't remember my Common App essay that much, but I do know I wrote about soccer and like the impact it had on my life. And I would say I'm a pretty strong writer, so it was probably an 8 or a 9 at least, I would say, because I didn't have the best test scores, so I definitely relied more on my essay.
I think that mine were okay. I spent probably a total of like a month writing my essays and writing things that go in it, but then I probably spent another month of people just looking over it, and I got everyone that I could look over it. I got my sister, and then I got some of her friends who also went to UNC to look over the essays.
I started writing my all of my essays back in July. I really focused on getting my idea down by early August, just because in my opinion that's the hardest part of it. Getting your idea for your personal statement and just all of your essays down. Once you get that, it's smooth sailing from there. If you're a good writer, then it's really just about crafting it in a way that really emphasizes what your ideas are. But yeah, I just say like my best piece of advice, get all of your ideas down before senior year starts, just because it's harder to write them and really spend time on them after school starts.
Very much agree with that. I honestly think coming up with ideas is like the hardest part.
Yeah.
I liked mine. I did mine more as like a metaphor of my personality rather than a story. So I talked about pineapple pizza. It's my favorite. It's like my favorite pizza topping, and I compared my like personality to that, if that makes sense. So it was more of like a metaphorical essay, and I started kind of late. I actually did it in October, I think. It just took me a really long time to come up with the idea, but then once I did, it was pretty easy to just like write it and clean it up in about 2 or 3 weeks, I think.
Was UNC the number one school you applied to?
It was my number one choice. I knew I didn't want to go out of state just because I knew the cost would be a little higher. I also wanted to be kind of close to home, not that close. I'm an hour and 15 minutes away, but I knew that UNC was my number one choice.
I didn't have a dream school. I applied to several schools, each of them for a different reason, though I was really happy and I was really excited to come to Carolina.
So my dream school was actually Duke University. I'm very, very glad I did not go there, just because, first of all, go Tar Heels. But also, Duke doesn't have an undergraduate business major, and so looking back on it, I think I might have actually regretted my decision to go there, and so I'm really glad that I didn't. But I did actually apply ED to Duke.
I don't think I really had a dream school. I think I was kind of shooting my shot. I did want to go to a big public but prestigious like institution. I thought it would really suit like my personality. I was actually very on the fence about applying to UNC because of the early deadline, but I'm very glad I did now. Yeah.
I didn't really have like a dream school or a number one school. I kind of looked all over, and I looked at schools in like different states and different sizes, all that stuff. But it was definitely really high on the list. I just tried not to have like one in mind so that I wouldn't be disappointed if it didn't work out. But UNC was really high on the list for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, UNC was my number one choice, and it was a best school I applied to.
And if you didn't get in, what school do you think you'd be at right now?
Just look up uncrejects.com. You'll see where I would have ended up.
I think if I would have gotten into NC State, it would have been NC State, and then my backup from that would be ECU.
For me, it really depended on what I wanted to major in. For a while, I was considering engineering, and so that's why I was very heavily debating NC State for a bit. But then when I decided on computer science and business, UNC ended up being the right choice.
If I hadn't gone into UNC, I thought for a long time I might go to Florida State because my mom went there and I had Florida prepaid. I also went to soccer camp at App State many summers in a row, and it was a cool town, so I thought I might be there.
Honestly, I had a lot of places. My my last three were UNC, Dartmouth, and then like a couple of schools abroad. Like I looked at St. Andrews and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Probably be at the University of Virginia or Maryland, probably. I think I was really going between here and UVA.
The last two schools I was deciding between was Carolina and Ohio State, and I chose Carolina not on a whim. I went up to Ohio State and I toured and decided Carolina's the place for me.
So far, do you think UNC, like class-wise, workload-wise, has been easier, harder, or like about the same as you expected?
I think it's a little harder than I expected because I came from a high school where there was no competition, so I thought I was always doing like the best of the best until I came here and realized that everyone else was on a different level, especially from people from like Cary or Charlotte. They were just on a different level. But it took a while for me to get there, but I think I finally adjusted.
Nice. She's been grinding on chemistry at all.
Yes.
Definitely think it's been harder than I expected, for sure. My county didn't have final exams. That was a very big transition. So my first final did not go as well as I wanted it to, and just really relearning my study habits because I wasn't very good at studying like for a test in high school. So I definitely had to learn how to do that in college, and overall just having like less assignments that are more like portions of your grade was very like stressful. But I definitely think with enough time you do get used to it.
I would say UNC is about what I expected. I knew it wasn't going to be Murphy High School. I guess it definitely varies by major, but it hasn't been that difficult for me as long as you stay on top of everything. It's more about time management than anything.
I think it's probably been overall pretty much what I expected. It's hard because the first like year for me was like COVID, so it didn't really count, and it was easier and whatever. But now that it's back to normal school and everything, I think it's about what I expected. It really does depend on the class and the professors. But the journalism school overall, I think like the workload is significant, but it's manageable, and if you have good professors, like they'll support you, it's good.
I agree.
It's harder than I expected, though part of that I'm responsible for. I have made it harder on myself. So it definitely depends, and I chose to make it harder.
Yeah.
So go me.
I think that's a common theme with a lot of people in like sophomore, junior years.
Pretty much on par. It's coming from a relatively competitive high school, Green Hope High, if any of you are from Cary. It's very similar to the workload of AP classes, and so I feel like high school really prepared me for that.
It's definitely harder than I expected. I would say high school was pretty easy. I guess I would say like I've had to spend a lot more effort at UNC classes than I would have at my high school. Even though it's less classes and it's not the same as high school where it's a block of the whole day. It's, you have classes in separate times and it's less classes in that sense, but the workload is high and it was definitely harder than I thought it would be. So I would recommend not slacking off.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
That was fun.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anytime.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, what is
Come on. Trying to do turkey.